that you are kind of streaming them and then they're getting captured onto the YouTube world.
Yes.
Because there's a couple of dates, not next week, but in the run of these, where I've been sequestered away, so I'm not going to be able to join everyone.
Well, you just go straight to YouTube. I was thinking about recording it and then uploading it somewhere. Can't be bothered, Adrian. It just seems like a lot of hassle recording and these are quite long, aren't they, as well? So they take a while to upload. So I just thought if they go straight to YouTube, and then that way, if you miss anything or you want to replay, you can just go straight to YouTube and find it. Awesome. Welcome, Kanchan. Lovely to see you. Welcome, Joe. Hi, Heather. Morning, Elsa. Hope you're all doing well. Okay, so let me start sharing my screen.
That you are kind of streaming them and
it's really weird when you see yourself back again on YouTube, you get that feedback. Okay. So let me just slideshow. Can everybody see this? Yes? Yep. Awesome. Okay, so here's our agenda for today. We're only going to be here together for about 45 minutes, well, less than that now. And the way I do these, Adrian's been to one before. I spend about 15, 20 minutes just talking about the topic. So today's topic is how to discover whether you have what it takes to be a thought leader. A lot of people want to be a thought leader, but there's specific traits and specific things you have to have in place, I've noticed, certainly, to become an influential, purpose-led thought leader. So I'm going to talk about that for about 15 to 20 minutes. And then the second part is when you can ask questions. And that's really probably the most exciting bit, because that's when I can really get an understanding of where you are, what your thoughts are. What have you tried in the past? Do you disagree with me? There's nothing wrong with disagreeing with me, by the way. If you have other ideas and you think, I think in a different way, there's nothing wrong with that. That's pretty cool, because understanding that different people have different points of view helps me as well, and it helps you. So that's the agenda, okay? Right, so let's get started. Why is the slide not moving? So what I'm going to do is, today is all about what it takes to influence and inspire. And I'm speaking to people who are purpose-led people. So either you are an ethical or plant-based business owner, you could be a B Corp founder, you could be a social entrepreneur, but you're doing something that really, it's not just all about profits. There's something else beyond that. So no wonder you want to get your thoughts out there, your ideas out there, because you're probably thinking, I'm actually thinking of you, Claire, because we saw each other yesterday. And what the main thing I remember about you, Claire, is the fact that we had a long conversation a while ago about how, the mental health way of looking at things is just to pick at what's gone wrong. And instead, your approach of, we just have emotions. It's not a big deal. Just kind of experience them and then let them go. That kind of attitude, that can help so many people, because there's so many people agonizing over their thoughts and emotions, and they're wanting to pick over everything. And like, why do I feel like this? Why makes my brain go like that? And your approach of, it's just the way you're feeling in that moment. Big deal. Get over it, move on, experience it. That can help so many people. So it's really, really important that we get our ideas out there so it helps more people. However, there are specific things you need to have in place to really get your message and your mission out there in a big way. And what I've done, actually, with the help of a wonderful mentor, he's helped me put together an assessment that you can do online. It takes about 5 minutes, maximum 10 minutes. It's not a long assessment or anything like that, but you can go through these questions, and at the end, you'll get a personalized report emailed to you, showing you your strengths, and also showing you where there might be a few weaknesses that you can plug so that you can get your message and your values out there in the biggest way possible. Now, if I'm going to go through a few of the questions that we ask in this assessment, you can scribble them down if you want, but like I said, I will send you a link to the assessment, so you don't need to. So if you want to scribble things down, feel free to, but you don't need to. So these are some of the questions that my mentor put together in this assessment. He's been around a lot of thought leaders, so he really knows why some people seem to fly, that their ideas and thoughts are just get out there in a big way, and why other people who have great thoughts and have great values and a great mission, and yet somehow don't get it out there in a big way. Okay, So the first question is, do you feel your values and mission are easily understood by the public? Please keep in mind that the average human being's attention span right now is 7 seconds. The average goldfish has an attention span of 9 seconds. So there you go. We've got lower attention spans than goldfish do now. So you can have an amazing mission, you know, there's something incredible that you're doing. But if it's not something that you can explain to the public in a nutshell, then it could be that you don't get your mission out there in a very big way. So ask yourself, is it something, I hate using the term elevator pitch, it's so American, but it's kind of annoyingly true. You need to think about, can you get somebody who doesn't understand what you do, never met you before, never had any understanding of your business or your organization? Can you make that person within a couple of sentences understand what your values and your mission are? So that's the first question. Next one, on a scale of 1 to 5, how much impact has your brand made so far? That doesn't mean, I mean, this isn't a question to beat yourself up against. If you're thinking, oh, it's not really made as big an impact as possible, but at least it gives you an idea of where the brand can go, how much bigger the impact can be. So it allows you to at least scale yourself and then ask yourself, are you willing to go further? Have you successfully influenced positive change within your field, community, or industry? Now, this doesn't have to be on a massive scale. It could be on a very, very small scale, just like a community level or even on a one-to-one level. But it's all fine and well having great values and mission. But if you're unable to persuade somebody, even just on a one-to-one basis, then again, you're going to struggle with this idea of thought leadership, because thought leadership isn't just thinking things and putting them out in the world. It's having thoughts that eventually influence people to make changes. So that's a key factor for you to look at. Have you successfully influenced any kind of positive change within your field, community, or industry? Roughly how many people have you shared your knowledge and best practices to inspire and assist them in making a greater impact? There's no point in being a shy thought leader. It just doesn't work. You have to be the kind of person who's willing to share your knowledge and best practices wherever you are. That doesn't mean you impose it on people, but you're willing to share it rather than holding back. Again, that's going to help you if you want to become a thought leader. Do you have knowledge, stories, and or case studies that make you think if only more people knew the truth, they would change what they do? The thing with thought leadership is it's all about stories. It's not even just thought leadership. It's really with anything, with any kind of influence, of learning. If you think about it, we've always been drawn to stories. I say this all the time. There's a reason why the Bible is written in parables. I mean, it could really just have been a dusty book of do's and don'ts and would have been done with it in about a tenth of the content. But the reason why it's all written in parables is that's how people learn. It makes it interesting to learn. And also that's when something gets embedded into long-term memory. We're not very good at remembering facts and figures. We're very good at remembering stories. So if you want to influence people to change the way they're doing something, then you need to think about putting that learning and advice into stories, case studies that make people think. So do you have those? Think about them. You probably do. Very likely you do. You probably just never use them. But think about your personal stories. And also case studies of clients or strategic partners that don't always have to be based on you. There could be other people's stories. My book, by the way, is full of case studies of other people. So there's only a little bit about me. So it doesn't always have to be about you, but you certainly need stories, whether they're yours or whether they're other people's that you're allowed to use. Do you enjoy speaking to audiences and educating them on your values and mission? I'm amazed how many people I meet who love to be a thought leader, but then when I drill down it, they don't really like speaking to loads of people. So I'm kind of thinking, that's a bit difficult, really. And I know a lot of people think, well, yeah, but we're now in the online world. So do I really need to get in front of a stage and speak to people? Well, yes and no. I suppose you could just become like an influencer type. But the reality is, if I got everybody here to close their eyes and sort of think of a thought leader, just create an image of what they believe a thought leader is, I'm willing to bet that most of you will think of somebody on a stage. There's something about seeing somebody on stage and commanding an audience, commanding the stage. There's something about that that really gives someone gravitas. And therefore, what they say, you're more willing to believe, it's more credible, and you're willing to take it on. There's something not quite there about just doing an Instagram reel. I hope that makes sense. So, I mean, even if you don't enjoy speaking to audiences, I guess the question needs to be rephrased. Are you willing to get good at it? Are you willing to get over yourself and learn how to speak in front of audiences? Because that is a key tenet of being a thought leader. Do you regularly publish content on your website and social media channels related to the impact you create and the change you want to see? I'm always amazed how many people I meet who then, once I dig a little bit deeper with them, they have this amazing story and about their values and their mission. And then go on their website, their social media, there's nothing there. It's just like, look at my amazing product, look at my amazing program, and that's it. Again, you're not going to be seen as a thought leader if you're not willing to really get that content out there. So even if you've never spoken in front of people before, even if you've never thought of yourself as a thought leader before, you certainly have what it takes if you're regularly publishing content on your website and social media channels. That isn't just about, hey, look at my amazing thing that I'm selling or the thing that I'm doing. But instead, you're talking about ethics, you're talking about your beliefs, you're talking about what you're seeing that is being done wrong and a better way of doing things. If you're doing that, you've got a good foundation for becoming a thought leader. Do you believe that if more people knew about your mission, they'd be motivated to have the same values? That's a big one. Again, I see so many people who, when I scratch the surface, then I start to see a mission, but there's nothing on their social media about it. There's nothing really on their website about it. Maybe they've got a few paragraphs on there about me, part of the page, and that's about it. It needs to be everywhere. If you want to be a thought leader, if you really want people to adopt the way you think, your mission, your values, then you've got to really be out there and be talking about your mission and the values and why it matters and why things are wrong at the moment and how they can be right. It's something that needs to be just seeping out of you all the time. This is a big one. A lot of people don't talk about this. And when my mentor put this in, I was like, this is interesting because I wouldn't have thought of this as important to becoming a thought leader. Are you making enough profit so that you can simply focus on the good work that you do? That's a huge one. If you look at all the big thought leaders out there, they don't have to worry about their finances. It's very, very difficult. You have to be almost saint-like to be able to turn up for the world and be good and try to explain why things are wrong and what needs to be done when you're worried about your own finances, when you're worried about your family's financial future. It's very difficult to be that person. So you need to think of, are you making enough profit so that you can simply focus on the good work that you want to do? If you're not, then that's going to hamper your route to thought leadership, because it's very difficult, as I said, to be a thought leader, a purpose-driven thought leader, when you're worried about finances. That needs to be sorted. So you really need to think about your business, your brand, and if it's making enough money for you to then really go to that next level and become a thought leader. So as I said, in fact, what I'll do is I'll put this link in the chat. I don't know if I can get the chat when I'm here. I don't think I can see the chat. Oh, no, here it is. Oh, but it comes up here. Never mind. I'll do that in a minute. So what I'll do is I'll put a link into the chat where you can go through these questions and a few more. Like I said, it should only take you about 5 to 10 minutes. And what will happen is you will, after you've finished it, you will be assessed on 5 key aspects. We'll look at things like mission impact. This is my mentor's done this, and he's brilliant. He's worked with a lot of thought leaders, and these are the key issues, not issues, key things that he assesses people on, and then therefore he can help them. Okay, so we look at things like mission impacts. We'll see what your mission is and what kind of impact you're making and whether you can make a bigger impact or not. We look at your chances of thought leadership. We'll look at your visibility and recognition. That's a key aspect of thought leadership. So we'll see where you are right now and whether you can do more. We'll look at profitability. As I said, it's not something that I ever really thought of until I started speaking to my mentor and thought, he's absolutely right. If you're not sorted financially, it's very difficult to move to the next stage. You become a thought leader. And we look at author capabilities. One of the things I've noticed, along with my mentor, is most thought leaders tend to be published authors. They tend to go hand in hand. There's something about being a published author that lends itself for you to go and become a thought leader, because it gives you credibility and authority. So we will look at your capabilities as an author. Now, one thing I will say is don't beat yourself over the head with this sort of thing. If you get a low score in one of them, that doesn't mean, well, that's it, you're out, you can't be a thought leader, disappear now. That's not what we're saying. We're just saying there's room for improvement in certain areas. And the wonderful thing is, once you've gone through the assessment, you'll get a personalized report and it'll tell you the bits where there are room for improvement and give you practical advice on how you're going to improve those things. Okay, so let me stop sharing my screen and I'm going to put this into the chat now. Okay, so can you see this in the chat? Give me a thumbs up if you can. Awesome. Whenever you want, you can do that. But like I said, it should only take you about 5 minutes. I don't like doing ridiculously long assessments. Thank you, Elsa. But yeah, go and do it, because I went through it and it was interesting. There was a few things that I got a red mark and I was like, I've got room for improvement as well. But it's a really, really good assessment. So anyway, thoughts. Let me open up to the floor now. I'd love to have your thoughts. Is there anything that resonated with you? Anything that you might have disagreed with? That's absolutely fine. Let me know. Yes, Claire.
Yeah, what was interesting then was I had to go onto Instagram because I've got a meeting after this and I wanted to delay her a bit. If she doesn't get back to me, I'm going to have to go by 9:30. I haven't managed to pin her down yet. Anyway, so I was messaging her on there and I clicked on my notifications to find some woman had posted multiple angry comments on my video. So that was just so interesting as you were talking.
Oh, I love this. Love trolls. Come on.
Absolutely brilliant. Like proper, I've reported you, you're misinformed. Are you trained in this? Do you know about trauma informed, blah, blah, blah. And so I've just blocked her. I only caught a few words of what she'd written and I just blocked her. But what I noticed was this rising kind of I've got that feeling, got a hot sweat as well. I often find they come with a little bit of stressful thinking.
Yeah.
But then noticing that, that's okay. It's okay for initially for me to have that feeling about it, to know that that will pass. Yes. And to still be able to share, what I feel passionate about, because I think that can be the thing that knocks people back often, isn't it, from sharing, is that somebody's not going to like what I say.
Oh gosh, yes.
And especially in the realm I'm in, where I'm basically saying what you said at the beginning, that the entire mental illness issues are being caused by people's inability to be with a feeling.
Yeah, and that's going
to
knock some people's noses out of joint, because
big time.
They've probably spent 10 years in therapy, and I mean, don't
get me wrong, a lot of money.
I'm a big fan of therapy. I entered therapy when I was only 22 years old, and I still have a psychologist now. So I'm a big fan of therapy, but I really appreciated speaking to you and understanding that there is such a thing as over picking things and over analyzing. At some point you just got to go, well, I felt this way because I felt that way in that moment, but now I feel something different. Can we just move on? And I really appreciate that, but some people are going to get annoyed by that. But one thing I will say, Claire, is, if you're looking to become a thought leader and a real expert in this field and really get this mission out, then I think it's an important mission you've got, because I do believe in talking therapies, but I do believe that there's a little bit too much emphasis on talking and raking over things. That is going to annoy people, but every thought leader has got their detractors. In fact, that's kind of like, you're not really a true thought leader if you don't have somebody who's annoyed with you.
Yeah, that's kind of was the next thought that came in. Oh, I'm rattling people. Marvelous.
No, you're actually doing something right. If no one was laughing, exactly.
Got to be Marmite, haven't you? I think I heard somebody once say you need to be Marmite. If you're not being Marmite, then you're not saying it loud.
Exactly. I think the only place I kind of draw the line is some people have taken that to the nth degree when they're purposely setting out to rattle people. I was like, that's just stupid. You've got people who literally do that. It's like, well, if I want to be known as a thought leader for my thoughts and my ideas, I need to purposely create thoughts that annoy people. It's like, no, that's as bad as somebody who isn't being true to themselves and trying to censor themselves. But as long as you are being you and you've got extensive experience, it's not like you just woke up one day and suddenly decided on this. I know your story. So you've gone through years of experience to come to this understanding. There are thoughts that just bubble up and then they bubble away. Stop attaching so much importance to them. This hasn't come from just nowhere. You're just saying your thoughts. If that rattles people, so be it. So be it. But yeah, thank you for sharing, Claire.
I think there's a tipping point though, where the person who's upset turns it into a professional attack. So I've been uninvited from speaking at events because someone's been upset with my message, which is based on evidence, published evidence and research, but because of the particular theme it's around, they've got caught up in what's called the truth illusion, that they believe it's true because it must be, because so many people have said it that way for so long. And as a result, I was going to be a first-time speaker at this particular conference, and they were a long-standing part of it.
Yeah.
And I got into this conversation with them in the run-up to it, as part of the kind of the warm-up events, just to say, no, look, why this is the kind of the approach I've. Their position was very contrary, very closed to it as well, and wouldn't engage, didn't want to see my research, didn't want to see the evidence, just, no, this is it. And then had a quiet word with the event organizers, who then said, we're very sorry, but we need to change the lineup a bit. So now again, that to me, I think that's also a mark of success, but it's also, just to pick up Heather's comment in the side, that was one of those moments where I thought, had the half-second conversation of, do I push back to kind of make this into a crusade, or do I just go, well, you know what, if that's the organizers' view that they don't want to be open-minded or hear the other side of the debate, then do I really want to be part of their event?
Yeah, I think that's a really, really good question. That's Adrian, what I would say is something that I was guilty of when I first started speaking is just saying yes to everything, because I was just amazed anybody wanted me on their stage. It's like, you want me, little me on the stage? Oh my God, yes. So, but then after about a year, I realized that it's not just about speaking for the sake of speaking. There's always got to be a reason why you're doing it. So if you believe that, what you're talking about, if that is the truth, and that is the truth as you see it, then do you really want to water down your message? At some point, you've just got to say, it's not worth it. It's really not worth it. So yeah, I think in the beginning, whenever we start speaking, it can be captivating, the fact that people even want to put you on a stage. That in itself is a mark of credibility. But once you've got past that, it's a case of, and I'm to be honest, I don't even, now going back, I wish I'd said no to some of those speaking engagements, because I did have to do a watered down version of who I am to fit in their theme, which is something you should do. If you think about it, it's their show. You should. It's like if you go on a podcast show, you don't just go and decide, well, I'm going to talk about whatever I want to talk about. It's like, no, it's the podcast host show. It's their theme, what their podcast is about. Chances are they've already had a conversation with you beforehand regarding what they're going to ask you and what they want from this show. So you should fit in, because it's somebody else's thing. But you've got to assess whether that person's thing is right for you. And I think sometimes we're guilty of not doing that. I'm just going to read what Heather said, so productivity, efficiency versus profitability. The opportunity to speak and share the mission unpaid seem to override the profitable money-making activities. I'm sure this issue, yeah, it is, absolutely. I think especially because we're so mission-led, we just kind of like, we just want to talk to people, but you can burn yourself out. I know you've been, Heather and I've known each other for a few years now. She was actually one of the inspirations of turning into the vegan publisher. So thank you, Heather, for being in my life. But yes, we have to, and that's why I really loved the fact that my mentor put in that question regarding profitability. It's something that a lot of people are not assessed on. Everyone's seen, when you think of thought leader, people tend to think of, well, even not even thought leader, even just like a mission-driven business, a purpose-driven business. It's all about the mission. It's like, yeah, but the mission doesn't go anywhere if you don't make money. It's as simple as that. You know, it doesn't matter whether we like it or not. We need money. It'd be amazing if we're just like, you know, as mission-driven people, we can live on sunshine and air. That would be amazing, but we don't. We still need to make money. So you need to keep an eye on the bottom line, and that's quite important. Casey, I'm at the start, or I think we just lost Kanchan as well. But she said, I'm at the start of my journey, so these are very useful points for me to keep in mind. So far, I've only invested in my mission, yet to see how I mobilize impact and make some profit too. Let's see how it goes. Yes, yeah, so, but the good news is, Kanchan, and hopefully she'll see this in the recording because I know she's just dropped out, is that if you know this beforehand, a lot of people just, I think, especially when they're purpose-driven, there's this belief that if I just focus on the mission, everything else will sort itself out. And then, as we found out, a lot of impact-driven businesses are usually not in business very long for that reason, because they're not, you know, I always say it's like non-profits. The best non-profits are run like businesses. Just because you're a non-profit doesn't mean you don't keep an eye on the bottom line. So it's the same thing with any kind of mission-driven business organization. You've got to keep an eye on profits. So what I'll do, in fact, what I'd love to do, by the way, is I'd love to have a one-on-one chat with you. Adrian's already had one before. If you have got more questions regarding this or any other topic, let's get on a one-on-one session, because that way we can actually do a strategic, thought-out process for you and get you from A to B. In fact, let me show you how to do that. If I can share my screen. Okay. Okay, so these are some of the wins that we've got for our clients. We've got loads of them actually, but there's only so many I can fit onto a screen. So yeah, we help our clients get amazing results. Get results as in become a thought leader, because that's essentially, even though I'm helping people write books, it's not books for the sake of writing books. In fact, I turn away people like that. Whenever I have somebody who's like, I've always wanted to write a book, it's been on my bucket list, and instantly in my head I'm groaning. I try not let my face show it because I'm trying not to be, you know, not to be rude, but I groan inwardly because it's just like, oh, here we go. Someone who's, without realizing, is doing it for egotistical reasons. I'm not interested in people writing books for the sake of writing books. We're writing books because we can see something going wrong in the world and we need to make a change. We need to show people that, hey, you don't realize it, but you're unwittingly doing something that's either harming other humans, harming non-human beings, harming the planet in some way. We need to enlighten them. So that's the point. And I always say, I'm not even all that bothered about books, which sounds really weird as a book publisher, that I'm not bothered about books, but I'm not. If somebody gives me something tomorrow that would give more credibility than books, guess what? I'm doing a switcheroo. I'll be like, you know what? I'm going to now teach people how to do this thing, because this actually gives them better results in becoming a published author. But so far, I haven't found anything. But if you have 80 grand saved away somewhere and you can create a film, you know, like a documentary that can go onto Netflix or something like that, that seems to be something that's getting more credibility than books right now. But it costs a serious amount of money. There's nothing really else apart from books that gets you that serious kind of credibility, unless you want to pay about 80K or more. So these are some of the results we get for our clients. We help them get shows. They're able to charge more for their services. Remember, profitability is key. They're able to get more referrals, and the book actually does the marketing and selling for them. We've also created a roadmap for you, because we know it can be quite overwhelming in the beginning. You kind of got an idea that a book will help you get your mission and your values out there, and also help you make more money in your business or organization. But it's a bit difficult working out the roadmap. We've got it all laid out for you. So we'll take you through a very structured process, and out you pop at the end as a bona fide thought leader, someone who's very credible and people need to listen to you. And then these are just some of our clients who are in our Hall of Fame. And these people are doing incredible things. They are in international news in some cases, and certainly national newspapers and TV. And they're getting their mission out there in a big way. So if you want a strategy call, I would love to have a chat with you. Basically, the format is we'll discuss where you are now and where you want to be in 12 months. In fact, this week's really good, because if you do the assessment, I will know this beforehand, so we can have a really productive conversation regarding where you want to be in 12 months' time. And then part 2 is where you can ask questions. So questions like, you know, what Claire asked regarding dealing with trolls, and realizing that it's actually a good thing. You've kind of made it when you've got your own troll. And the fact that someone wanted to actually ban you on Instagram, that's great. That's proper troll behavior. So well done, Claire. But these are the type of things that we can discuss in part 2. And then if there is a way that the thought leader ecosystem can help you, at that point, I will go through the program. I'll go through costs. I'll go through how long it takes, etc., etc. Only if it's suitable. It's not always suitable. Sometimes I get on a strategy call with somebody, and then when we discuss exactly where they want to be in 12 months, the process is going to get them there isn't a book. It isn't thought leadership through becoming a published author. So it's only if it's suitable will I go through the program. So if you want to book one of those, just go over to, in fact, let me put this into the chat. So you've all used Calendly before, you know how that works, yes? So you just go into Calendly and just book some time in. So there should be some time tomorrow and Friday and next week if that works for you. Just go to Calendly. Let me just put this into, did I just accidentally knocked it off? Hold on, let me just get that. There we go. So that should be in the chat now. So yeah, if you'd like a strategy call, get yourself booked in. I'd love to have a chat with you. Okay, so any more questions? Let me just have a read of what's happening in the chat. I can't do this and walk and read the chat at the same time, guys. That's 3 things. 2 things is enough. But let me just, okay. Don't let it invade your peace. If it's part of the mission to be represented in this conversation event, then I'd crusade it. I love it. I'd crusade it. That's a great. Thank you, Heather. Yeah, that's very, very true. Don't let it invade your peace. I love that. Yeah, Claire says as well. Casey, you have to drop off. Thank you, Vitaly. I took the audit for myself, so I work on my score. Oh, awesome. Kanchan, when you see this recording or when you see it on YouTube, get in touch with me if you want to discuss the actual report, if there's any bits of it that you want to discuss. Claire, I haven't heard from the next meeting, so I need to go. Shame, because it's so interesting. Oh, did you go? Are you now back?
I went, and just as I went off, she sent me a WhatsApp saying, yeah, I can wait 15 minutes. So I came back again.
Back. Awesome.
So there you go. There you go.
Any more questions or any more thoughts, guys? I'm here for a few more minutes. So, Heather, you've been strangely quiet.
Thank you.
I don't like you quiet. I like you talking to me.
It's. I feel like it's early because it's dark still. Can you tell by my lighting?
No,
I've got the light switched on as well.
You're an hour after us, aren't you? You're in Copenhagen.
Yeah, I think since daylight saving, I've just been tired all the time. I was going to say about the productivity. It's more like sustainability, and it is the risk of burning out when you're on a mission is like crusading it. Adrian, is massive. So I was wondering if you had any tips how to be profitable and visible and all things in the test.
Well,
find the most efficient less time intensive method possible.
I think the biggest tip I can give you is, and this, some people might hate this. Maybe I should put it on Instagram, Claire, and then somebody control me for this. But I think is, you know, as someone who's mission driven, we kind of we want to help, and we forget to help ourselves sometimes. I've been there myself. I made a decision this summer. I don't know if you know this, Heather. Maybe I've told you, maybe I haven't. But I made a decision over the summer to no longer help people with books where they've already half done them. So I was getting people, what I did before is people who came to me with a book idea, brilliant, I can help them through the entire process. But also there were people coming to me who had either finished their first draft or almost finished their first draft, and they're wanting help with the rest. What I ended up finding out was these people, first of all, don't want to pay me what I'm worth, because they feel they've kind of done half the job. They've written most of the book, so they don't need coaching from me. But then I'll read the manuscript and I'm sat there in my head going, how do I tell them this is utter crap and it needs complete rewriting? You know, it's all over the place, or it's so big. I mean, I had one manuscript that was 80,000 words. I just thought, who's going to read 80,000 words? And this person had literally put in everything but the kitchen sink in there. I'm just thinking this just needs, and what they didn't seem to understand, that it was actually taking me more time and effort for me and my team to fix something that's gone wrong than it is for somebody to come right at the beginning and for me to set them on the right path. It's like, it's a bit like getting one of those money pits. You know, you buy a house, but then you find it's an absolute money pit, and it makes more sense for you just to bulldoze the damn thing and start from scratch than actually try to fix it. And they just didn't understand. And because I think if I wasn't the vegan publisher, if I wasn't the founder of the vegan publisher, I think I would have got rid of those people ages ago. I would have been like, no, get out of my life, not interested. But because I'm so mission driven and I'm helping people who are social entrepreneurs, B Corp founders, people who are really making a difference in the world, I stuck with trying to help these people. And I beat myself over it. And it was hard making that decision over the summer. But since then, it's been brilliant. I've had a few people that got upset because I'm no longer going to help them. But it's meant that I've had time for myself, and I've actually, therefore, because I've had time for myself, I'm working with the people that I should be working with, I'm making more money. So I'm in a better place to then be able to get my mission and my values out there. So I would just say sometimes to be selfless, you've actually got to be selfish. I think that's probably the best advice I can give you. If you don't look after yourself, I'm not talking about looking after yourself to the detriment of others, but if you don't just fundamentally look after yourself, there isn't much of you then to help other people. So I think that's a key thing to remember, is it isn't about just thinking about yourself all the time, but you do still need to think about yourself. Don't let yourself completely get vanquished into the mission. Because there's not going to be much. I see this all the time. There's actually a wonderful gentleman who's starting to write his book with me in January, and his book is all about activism. And he basically set up a business, so he now has money just coming in. It's now all set up with a manager, so he doesn't even have to be in the business anymore, and therefore he's now got a great income, so you can do a lot more boots on the ground activism. And his book is all about helping young activists, because if you'll notice in the activism world, they all tend to be in their early 20s, don't they? You might get a few in their late 20s, and then they burn out because they don't have enough money. It's pretty cool when you're 23 years old and you're couch surfing. It's not cool when you're 33 years old, is it? No one thinks you're a cool couch surfer when you're 33 years old. So then they're thinking like, well, I need to settle down. I want to have kids. I want to have a career. But now that doesn't fit with their activism. So they end up having to leave the activism. So what he's showing is, you know, you can be, he's in his 30s and he plans on being an activist well into his 50s and 60s until he dies. But he can do that. And the reason he can do that was he was a little bit selfish in his 20s. He sat there and thought, I need to create something to make enough money so that I can continue with my activism. I'm sure there were activists who started with him that thought he was selfish. He was spending time building his business. He was making business plans when he could have been chaining himself to a tree or chaining himself to a gate. Can you see what I mean? But I bet those activists now are burnt out and they're not activists anymore. So who's actually made the biggest difference? Does that make sense? Or long term, it's a little bit of selfishness is what is going to make the biggest difference. Does that answer your question? I don't know.
I think that takes a bit of processing.
It will. I'll come back next week and then tell me what your thoughts are. Any other questions? Elsa, Joe, I haven't heard from you, but I'm assuming you're busy either eating breakfast or doing something, so you can't get on camera. But if you got any questions, oh, hello, Elsa. Lovely to see your face. How are you doing?
Yeah, good, thanks. Sorry, just digesting my thoughts. So I thought I'd leave my camera off, but thank you so much for today. It's been super interesting.
Excellent. Make sure you do the audit.
Yeah, will do. Thank you. Yeah.
You've got the link in the, I did put the link. Yes, I did. Do the audit because it's really, I went through it and it was very, very interesting. You know, there were some questions in there that I just wouldn't have thought was pertinent. Bye, Claire. Lovely to see you. I wouldn't have thought was pertinent to becoming a thought leader, but it really was, and really made me see the business side of being a thought leader. I think sometimes you kind of think thought leader and you just literally think mission, values, but people, you know, are not seeing the business side of being a thought leader, and there is business there.
Yeah, that's super interesting. Thank you.
Thank you, Elsa. Any more questions? We're coming up to 1:45 now, but I can hang around for a few more minutes if I'm needed. Is everyone okay? Excellent. Okay, so as I said before, I would love to have a one-on-one chat with you so we can go through your audits. If you do the audit, that'd be fantastic. Yeah, just go over to Calendly. I did put the link in the chat, didn't I? Please tell me I put the link in the chat. I always forget if yes, I did. Awesome. Okay, so just go over to Calendly, book yourself in, and yeah, I would love to have a chat with you. That's it for today. Thank you guys for joining me, and have a lovely rest of the week. Anything else before we go? No. Okay, lovely to see you. Thank you, Adrian. Thank you, Heather. Thank you, Elsa. Thank you, Joe. Thank you for turning up. And yeah, I will speak to you all soon.